So when I was 14, I found a book in the garage. And that book really set the course for my whole life. The book was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. How many of you have read How to Win Friends and Influence People? Well, I'm done. But at 14, imagine reading that. I had started my first business when I was 12. I sold tie-dye t-shirts at school. And I learned how important it was to build relationships with the people around me. And now I'm 61, and I'm in the business of helping you make better relationships. So I did that because I wanted to make better relationships, and I found out kind of everybody wants to do that. So how many of you have actually had that book in your life that you read that and there was that one nugget that just changed everything for you? Yeah? So I hate these kind of talks because a lot of times it's just, there's a lot of hot air and there's no takeaway. And I told Mike that I want to give you some tools that you can use tonight, you can use tomorrow. So if that's okay, I'm not going to do the history of intro networks. I've got one slide on 805 Connect, we'll talk about that. But I want to talk about community. This is community. I love live events. I love virtual, but I love being able to shake people's hands. So we think about being connected, and now we're really hyper-connected, aren't we? I mean, we're all in numerous social networks. We may have networks inside our company, inside our association. There's plenty of places for us to be connected. In fact, how many don't want to sign up for another social network? Yeah, right? Those are the people that didn't sign up for 805 Connect. So just one more, okay? Please. But when we think about, push here, Mike, it's already not. I love it. Technology's great when it works. So, how many of you you work at home, you work by yourself, but you don't really get things done by yourself. You get things done when you work with other people. I love collaborating. I love collaborating with clients. I love collaborating with employees. And I think the best stuff happens when we do that. And collaboration is really a process of design. I look at design as problem solving, right? Designers solve problems. How do I make a better one of these? Right? That's a design problem. It's a problem-solving challenge. So we think about collaboration as a process of design, and I think of solving problems as a journey. So I'm going to go on this journey to solve this problem. How do I do a startup? Whatever that problem might be, it's really a journey. And so when I think about who's going to come with me on that journey, I think about, am I working with the right people? Or am I working with the people that are close to me? Or have been assigned, or that's proximity to me? So how do I find the right people? So I'm always thinking about, are those the right people to work with? Where right is relative to the task at hand. So that'll be an underlying theme to how we think about networking and how we think about finding the right person on any given day or 3 or 4 times during the day. Now, I also think about, are we talking about the right things? Sometimes we're just, yeah. We talk, what's the precious resource, the most precious resource we have? It's our time, right? So are we talking about the right things? Now, when we're collaborating, do we have the right people on the team? So one of the things that we do at Intro Networks is we help people build teams. So I might have 6 people and someone's leaving, so I've got to solve for that missing. What's the right chemical makeup of that person's life? How do we make the right team? Once we started studying this, there's a lot of really interesting research about teams and team behavior and the roles inside of teams. And I would encourage you, if you work in small teams, small to me is 4 to 8. there's a lot of really interesting stuff to think about teams that I didn't know until we started studying this. The best book, I think, is How NASA Builds Teams. Really, really interesting. And then, what's fantastic, when you all come together, you co-create things. You make these things, and it's like, whose idea was it, and how do we didn't know it was all of us. So I'm thinking about these things kind of all the time when we're connecting people. And it's about having the right tools around. Now, thankfully, I mean, I don't know how we lived without this. We did, but everything changed, and we now have access to resources and tools that we didn't have before that help us. So I'm going to start with the first tool. And this tool was taught to us. I started a company in Santa Barbara called Wavefront Technologies, created 3D animation software. The company got large and unruly, and we brought in people, hi Jim, come in and help us. And this guy named Andrew taught me this, and taught me this way of thinking about leadership, and specifically this one about problem solving. So we talk about this journey. When we solve problems, there are 7 distinct steps, and there's energy around each one of those. So what I'll do is I will make a blog post about this, and I'll post it so that you all can have this to refer to later. So the first step in the journey is accept the situation. This is my problem to solve. This is, if I solve this problem, something good is going to happen. But you have to accept it. How many times have you said, you've been told, you've got to go fix that? So, I don't even get past step 1 because I don't accept that it's my fix. So this is the first thing. And there's a whole language around how do you get everyone to accept, yes, in fact, this is your problem and you need to solve it. We don't think about that. But once you do that, hey, now I own this thing. Mine. I'm going to solve this. So the second one is, I want to analyze this. Well, what is this problem? I want to become the world expert on this problem. I'm going to look at it from every point of view. I want to get all the facts, I want to get everything all lined out. Again, I want to be the world expert on this problem, whatever it is. A little tiny one, a real big one. But how much do we really, think about the last time you worked on a problem, did you sit down and just really get in and figure out what the facts and figures are? Really understand it? Because once you've done that, you're now the world expert on this problem. Now I'm going to define this problem, because I've done my homework, talked to all the people I need to talk to. Now I'm going to define this. Now in software, how many of you build software or been involved in doing that? So part of what you have to do is you have to get in the head of the user. You've got to figure out every single thing they're going to do, every single button they're going to click, all of that. So you've got to define it really, really crystal clear. But how many of us actually sit down and really define that problem? We don't. Now I'm going to suggest that we may do little bits of these, but if you are a high performer in each one of these steps, it actually transforms how you think about solving problems. Because you got to figure out what the goals are. You're going to define this. If I solve this problem, we will have had these goals. It might be raise revenue, it might be decrease costs, it might be improve efficiency, whatever it is. It might be, how do I sell more motors? I like your motor thing. I mean, what are the new markets? Again, what are the goals? So that's the third step. So, there we go. Now, what happens when we want to solve a problem, we tend to jump right here. Oh, what are all the things we could do? It's my favorite part. What are all the ideas? I could do this, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. It's just, this next picture I love because it's, well, what do? We have a lot of great ideas. For those of you who are in 805 Connected, I wrote about ideation a couple of weeks ago. So this is I think it's a trap that if we don't do the homework, we want really quality ideas. So we have to do those other things first. This is the fun part, but you've got to get yourself prepped and framed up to get to this part. Now, this is, for me, the hardest part, because I want to do all of it. I'm not a good decider. It's this or that. You've got to pick one. So now, Who are you? You're the world's expert on this problem. You've defined it the best you can. You've done your homework. You've done a great job of that. You and your team, you've come up with all these great ideas, and you finally ran dry. The walls are covered. Well, now you've got to pick. It's kind of like I got to put my chips on one of these ideas. Which one do I think is going to win? Which one do I think is really going to be the best one? Remember these? These are, youngsters, these are albums. now called vinyl, and they're 4 times as expensive. So, but picking the right one, picking that one idea and saying, we're going to go with that idea. That's a definitive, we're going to do that. But you're confident because you've gone along this step. And there's real energy to this state as well, because you feel really good when you make that decision. We're going to go with that one. So then what do? We implement it. Let's do it. Let's execute. We'll stop talking. Let's do it. Taking that action or planning to act so you can get that done. So now there's a ton of energy, and this might actually be a really long phase for you to do this part. But then we get to the last one. And this is the one that's interesting that gets consistently forgotten. How did we do? Did we pick the right one? Now, if you were to look at this on a chart, this might be linear. We go from 1 to 1 to 1. It might be a waterfall, meaning I go to 1, but I can't really get good ideas because I hadn't defined the problem well enough, so I want to go back up to the definition. It could be circular. So these steps all are kind of iterative. But evaluating, and you say, I didn't come out right. You go back, and how far do you go back? Maybe it was another one of the ideas. Maybe it was the number 2 idea. And why did it fail? Did we not have enough information? Was it the wrong target? All kinds of things. But once you have a framework like this, it helps you get better. You learn from that. How many times have we told it's really good to fail? Right? We hear that all the time. Entrepreneurs fail, fail, fail. Well, we like to say fail fast and get going. Fail fast, that's good. Learn from that, iterate, and then because I want to get to goal. I don't want to always fail. So if we think about these in review, then we accept it, we analyze it, and by the way, I learned this 35 years ago. And I probably still use this at least 2 or 3 times a week. It was just, again, it's a tool that absolutely works. And I'll find that if I'm not coming up with good enough ideas, I don't understand the problem right. Or I didn't evaluate it. So this is a constant thing that we do. And I thought if it was valuable enough for me, I wanted to share that with you. So this is our first tool, which is the 7 energy steps. There's a book called Universal Traveler, which has a lot of this thinking in it, written on a calculator. So now, we've got this great idea, we've solved this great problem. Your second tool is about communication. Now, all of us communicate, right? We all communicate every day. We talk to people, we write emails, we write white papers, we write customer letters, we write blog posts, we write, that's it, you were writing 4 hours a day, probably. You know, we write a lot. And I learned this trick. It's absolutely helped me. In fact, the guy who taught me, we put them on little cards, and we all carried those cards with us until we got memorized. And then I recently ran into him. I hadn't seen him in many, many years. And I said, and I knew I was going to go see him. And I pulled that card out and said, there it is. This thing absolutely transformed how I communicated to everybody in the company. In fact, one time, I wrote a letter to a guy about this product idea as head of sales. I spent a lot of time going through this. I called him and said, do you have any questions? He goes, no. That was perfect. I understand every single thing that you were trying to communicate. I have 0 questions. I went, that's a great communication, isn't it? Right? Where you completely convey all the thoughts that you want very succinctly. It's really easy to remember. So the first one, and by the way, just a tip for you, is I made a Word document with this in it. And that's a template that I use when I'm writing something. Now I've kind of got it memorized, but I still will start with the template and just fill in all the blanks, and you cannot go wrong. So the first thing is the context. What's the goal? What am I trying to achieve in this communication? Right? It's very simple. The second one, what's the clear and compelling vision of the future? After someone reads this, there's going to be this amazing thing that happens. What is that? Tell them what that is. The third is a strategy. How are we going to make that thing happen? What are we going to do? Right? The fourth one is, what's in it for the person reading? A lot of times, it's all about me writing this letter of what I want and not why you should care. What's in it for you? This a lot of times, when I'm analyzing why something didn't work, I didn't do a good job of this. What's in it for them? And then what do I need you to do? What's required of you? I need you to do something. I need you to take action. And the last one is next steps. Okay, we're going to do this. So the example I use a lot is, hey, I'm hungry. That's my context. I'd really like to have a very satisfying, fantastic meal right now. Okay, that's my goal. Strategy is, I'm going to get on Yelp and I'm going to find something within walking distance of here. And the what's in it for you? I'm buying. That's good. What's required of you? Grab your coat. Next step, let's go. So there's a real simple example of that. But here's another example, which is, so I set the context earlier that I have 2 tools that have helped me become a better leader. Can you ever remember that? And then I said, what if you could solve any problem, could communicate effectively with any group of people, and have more certainty about the outcome? That's a great vision. Wouldn't you all love to do that? You'll be able to do that. Strategy, I'm going to teach you these tips in a way you will not forget them. Okay. We'll see. I'll come back next year and see if you forgot. What's in it for you? By learning, you'll dramatically improve your leadership capabilities. Now, what's so great about you guys? How old are you? 20, 21? 22? Keep going?
21, 26, 30.
But perfect, you're learning this where it's going to make a difference in the rest of your business career. Right? That's what an advantage that is for you. What's required? Practice every day for the next 3 weeks. How many of you have heard that if you do something 21 times, it'll become ingrained into the fabric of your day-to-day work? Absolutely. So you can either do it 3 times a day for 7 days, or you do it once a day for 21 days, whatever. Do it 21 times, and you will become a master. This is not hard stuff. So look at your notes, and Eli, thank you, you were taking pictures of that, so you'll remember this, and you were all taking notes. Look at those notes and try this for the next 21 days. There we go. So I'm going to now transition to our current project, which is kind of based on these tools and these ways of thinking. And the project is about a knowledge network, and it's called 805 Connect, and I'll get to that. But what I'm looking at, what we're looking at in the region is how do we get people to interact with one another, and through that interaction create a wealth of information about the people behind the businesses here in the 805. Since running this project in April, I am blown away at the quality, caliber, the experience, the roles, the deep expertise that I've found from CME all the way up to Paso Robles. Absolutely amazing. Because I get to see all, when Mike said I know everybody, because I introduce myself to everybody that joins, and because I'm really interested in everyone, because the insight that we're getting from this, 805 Connect is a project to improve economic vitality along the 101 corridor. Based on this idea, we shop local, we buy local. Why aren't we working local? Why is so much business seeping out of the region? Because we think the best copywriter is in Los Angeles, or the best SEO guy is up in San Francisco. The best There's a lot of amazing talent in this region. We just didn't know who's doing what with whom. That insight is allowing us to feed that information back to our partners. CLU, Huddle is a partner of ours, our educational partners, the economic development agencies, the chambers, the various people who want us all as a region to do better. It's that insight that we're getting from this platform and about all the people that's helping us create new initiatives to better support several different communities. One of them is the startup and entrepreneurial community, but also, you know, once you get out of the nest as a startup and you get going, now, you know, you're on your first $1 million and then your first 10 and your first 50. There's things that we need at different stages of business. So we have, right now, 805 Connect is 50% of the people are less than 4 people. So they're really small businesses, a lot of that. But then we've got, you know, companies that are doing $100 million in there and everything in between. Think about this region. Region's 185 miles from north to south. Do you know it's closer to drive to San Diego from here than it is to drive the whole distance of the 805? San Diego is 168 miles from Santa Barbara, 185 miles from top to bottom. So think about the economic diversity, the industry diversity, the cultural diversity. We've got ag sectors, manufacturing sectors, high-tech sectors. We've got the work that's starting here as a hub. Look at what's going on in San Luis Obispo. And who's the luckiest guy in all of this? Me. Because I'm actually tasked with understanding all of those dynamics so that I can try to make some sense of this, to be able to feed back to all the partners to say, what are we going to do? What can we do now that we know this, now that we're smarter? Because remember, I was going back, what was the problem? I accepted the problem. Can I build a community for this region? Because there's no organization that's got jurisdictional oversight over these 3 counties. But we all want economic vitality. We want the region to do really well. We want great restaurants to go to. We want great arts and culture. We want great, as an adult learner, I want to go to great adult ed programs. All of that, all of this stuff means that we've got a robust economy. And we all have a role in that, whether we're conscious of that or not. We hire people, we pay taxes, we have service providers. That's all part of it. We're all contributing to that. Whether you get what your part is or not, that's okay. I'm thinking about that. So 805 Connect, for those of you who've not seen it, it's pretty simple. There's the region from the north all the way down to the south. My background is in computer animation and visualization with a company called Wavefront. And so I was a chef before that, so I know people eat with their eyes. You know, aspirationally, what do they want to do, where they want to grow? How do we do that in a way that's interesting, because I have 9 milliseconds to capture your imagination when you log in, if I have none. And to get you to come back, there's got to be that what's in it for me that we talked about. So the what's in it for you is guaranteed. Now, 50% of the people who go into the network say they don't need help in anything. And that's probably because they don't want to be bothered, because they've never met an audience of people who, being honest, don't need help in something. I need help in SEO, I need help in advertising, I need help in community contacts. We track 135 different skills that you could help with, or you might need help with. So that's part of that collaboration I talked about earlier. We're all our little silos working really hard in our business, but at some point we come up and say, God, I really need some legal advice now. I saw you came in 2 days ago, and I looked at what you needed, and I thought, I don't remember it right now, but I thought about that, and I thought, I want to show you a video that shows how to go and find the person or the 17 people who might be able to help you. You asked for an app developer. There's 37 app developers inside of 805 Connect. Real easy to find these people. So no matter, of those 135 things, it's not all technology. It might be, how do I build a board? How do I expand internationally? How do I delegate? All these things. Because as entrepreneurs, we're really good at that one thing. I get that killer idea. How good are you at HR? How good are you at contracts? How good are you at negotiating a lease? How good are you at, and I could just go on and on and on, right? We're not really good. And guess what? That's why there's this great new company called 17 Hats, 17hats.com. Because, you know, when you're starting up, you're wearing 17 hats, right? Because you're doing the accounting, and you're doing the selling, and you're managing a team. You're doing all of that stuff. So what we've designed here is a way to go in and profile yourself in a way that's very different than LinkedIn, which is a great resource, than Facebook or any of these other things, because what we're doing is we're asking questions that help us create a four-dimensional view of you. Because remember, I'm interested in the people behind the business. If I just need to find a business, there are a million ways to do that. But if I want to understand the people behind it, that's harder. How could I help? I need some help. So the four dimensions there are my role and my experience. I might be something now, but I've done several things in the past. How could you help? Where do you need help? And where are you focused? The where you're focused is really interesting. We had a partner review in September where I do a deep dive on this information to say, where are the clusters? When you're doing economic development, what you want to look at is, where are the clusters of activity? Who's doing well and where? And this is fascinating because there's a whole ag tech movement that's going on that I drive by all the ag on the 101, but I hadn't really paid attention to it. There's all kinds of really interesting things. If you're at all curious, go in and take a look. So what I'm going to do, let me see if how's my time, Mike?
You're good.
I'm good.
15, 20 minutes.
Okay. So what I want to do is, how many people actually went in and I got to figure out how to make that call to action to go in and do something even stronger. We're all trying to get better at that. But what I'm going to do is I want to give away a book, and I want to go in and use the software for just a couple of seconds and show you exactly how easy it is. Step here. This all works. So go to 805connect.com, and this will bring you up to the site. And if you're a new user, you just create your profile here. If you're a business, an individual, you probably can't read that eye chart, so I'll just log in. And the first thing that you do is you actually go in and create a profile. And this is the part that's really interesting because it's different than any other way of, and I appreciate that it's yet another network to go build a profile on. But I believe that the experience and the value you get from it by not only being able to find people, but people being able to find you. Right? There's a lot of times it's just people I never met contacting me. So we start with this profile. And the profile was, the standard kind of stuff. But this is what's really interesting. And this is, by the way, entrepreneurs, the young entrepreneurs here, if you've got some intellectual property, you've invented something, get it patented. Now there's a whole, I'm not going to get into a debate about patents and patent trolls, but I tell you, the having something patented and keeping people from doing what you do has protected us for many, many, many years. And it's around this. The idea that I need to present hundreds of words to someone and have them not run out of gas after they've picked 5. Right? I've got this whole page of words. Am I creative? Am I innovative? Am I all of these things? And it's either I am or I'm not. There wasn't a way to add some weight to that in a way that was really interesting. So what we did was we said, well, I'm a company founder, so I took that word from the bottom and I pulled that up to the top. And I go through these words and I say, what could I help with? These are that 135 words. So actually, I can help with event and meeting management. We produced 3 TEDx's up in Santa Barbara. I like doing that. But notice, I can put this anywhere. So I did that, but I'm going to put that down in the lower part of the list. Where do I need help? And then what are my areas of focus? Now once you've done that, that affects the whole underlying matching engine and matches you up to other people. And it becomes searchable. And this is what drives, remember I showed that we had interaction, what I just did, information, those words, gives us insight. So when we look at, and I'll show you a little bit later, we look at the aggregate of all of us as a community, we start to see some trends really, really quickly, which allows us to, might be teaching classes based on things that we learn. And I'll get to that in just a second. So once I've done with that, people skip this stage, the third one, and it's got one of the more interesting questions. So you've just, imagine this, you've just come out of this time where you're kind of thinking about, you're very introspective. Where do I really need help? What am I good enough at to say that I would help other people? And we get letters from people who say that, thank you for that. It was an interesting way to think about myself. But this is something, by the way, we invented this software for TED in 2003, for the main TED conference, as a way for us to meet other TED attendees. It was very self-serving. I wanted to meet these interesting people. But we knew that we would never get all the words right. Never, ever. And I didn't want it to turn into anarchy and people could add their own words. I wanted to control that. So we said, let's talk about it. And what we did at TED is we took these words that people said, let's talk about, and actually printed them on their badge. So if you go to TED.com now and join the community, you'll see a let's talk about, or talk to me about. I think that's what it is, talk to me about. And those will be the words. Because what that does is it's giving someone who looks at your information permission to talk to you about something that you really care about. So what just happened? We just went through all of this stuff about business. My role, my experience, how I could help, all of this stuff about business. And people will say, let's talk about my last vacation, my grandkids, my dog, my cat. And you find out what's really important to them. And this gets back all the way to how to win friends and influence people. What Dale Carnegie taught me was how to walk into a room of someone I didn't know and pick up visual cues of what was important to them and use those things as my entree to building a relationship when I didn't know them. At 14, this was pretty powerful insight for me. That's what this is. When you find out that someone wants to talk about your favorite TED Talk, and that would be a great, I'm giving you permission to have a conversation with me about that. Think about that. That's really powerful if you're trying to build relationships with people, because we really would rather work with our friends, wouldn't we? How long does it take? I wrote a blog post called From Zero to Friend in 2 Clicks. How do we do that? Wouldn't you really rather do that? Isn't life more fun? Absolutely it is. So again, what you're seeing, what's great about software is you can see the personality and the thinking and the way we think about the world show up right here in software. So you fill out, you can come through this, it's all optional. You can come in and put your LinkedIn, your blog, any of those kinds of things. You can also put in pictures if you like. This was the former head of the MIT Media Lab, John Maida. I found this on his blog and I thought this was like a perfect image for me in my life. Then you say, show my connection. So here's where the payoff is. I've just done this. Now I see 1,000 people arranged around me. All the ones around the outside I don't have anything in common with. But all the ones in the center, so I'm at the center of my own universe. Right there, that's me. Right? So you're aware of that. And then people close to me are people that I have things in common with. Now, Don, I click on Don's pin. He's president and cultivator of Smith Brook Farm. He says, talk about learning, media, entertainment, technology. That's interesting. And I can see all of the words he picked in ranked order. So now, tell me any other place you can go to, and in one click, learn 40 things about someone just like that. And not only that, but the words in color are the things you have in common. So now I've just given you more information to talk to. So now, consulting, he's a company founder, but what's this be focusing on? Consulting services, Now, just because we don't have things in common doesn't mean I can't talk about e-commerce or career management or business planning. The number one thing for him is speaking. Now, I happen to know he runs the TEDx. He was the head of marketing communications at Sony Imageworks. He loves being in front of the audience. So it's like you learn a lot about him, but there's more. So how do I contact him? How do I see his LinkedIn? What are the things that are important to him? And you can just go on and on and on. Here's Debbie. Now Debbie, her pin is way out the outside. She didn't pick a lot of words, so I don't have a lot of words to potentially match with her. So when you do go in and build your profile, and for those of you who've already gone in, look at it again, because the first time you went through, you were just trying to get through it. Now go back and be a little more introspective, because the more words you have, the better matches you're going to get. So how do we use this in practice? App developer guy left, so we'll go look. You come up here, you click.
He moves you right here. Let's move.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Perfect. So I'm going to look for people. Let's start by looking for people who need help with app development. So I went to advanced search. It gave me all of those words. Now it's going to go back and search the database. And now what it did was it went and said, okay, that's the search criteria. Who can help him? Who needs help in app development? And it ranked them. The pins are positioned around the wheel based on how many of those particular words we have in common. So here with Zach, we have a lot of services and experience in common. Okay? But right now that doesn't matter as much as, is this potentially the right person for my project? So now, so it says these people are looking for app developers. So if you want an old school list, you just want to go through the list, fine, that's there. Because I might want to be looking for specific titles. Oh, I might want to talk to the CEO. I might want to talk to a developer. But the other way we look at it is on a map. Oh, interesting. Because I know I'm going to be going up to San Luis Obispo next week, and I might tag in and see if I can meet that person in person. So think about one of the dreams I've got for 805 Connect is when there's great events here, or there's great events up at the Hot House, which is the equivalent to this up in San Luis Obispo, you can find people and meet people and say, hey, let's carpool up and go up to another part of the 805. So this is, the map is a big part of that. Then I'm interested in visualization and animation through my Wavefront days, and this was the only concession the engineers gave me, was a circling tag cloud. So, we worked on Lord of the Rings and Spider-Man, and now I'm doing circling tag cloud. But what's interesting here is this shows what the 34 people have in common. So now imagine that you've built a team, you've built a group, because you can do groups, and I've got a team of 8 or 10 people, and I can look at what those people have in common. It starts to get really interesting because there's entrepreneurs there. Mentoring and coaching, we find that there are 5 of them that could help in mentoring and coaching. Now, I don't know if there's a causal effect between those words or not, but remember I said there was interaction, there's information, there's insight. So insight, I'm looking for tools that will help me. I don't know what it means yet. I need to look at it for a little bit. And I think we're all like that. One of the great things about humans is our ability to recognize patterns. Right? So I want to give you the information in a way that, that's interesting. Maybe if I start to sort this by, it's actually a social media app, someone who could help me there, just add that to my search. Is this making sense? See how this works? So it's not just, I want to go there and post status updates, because I don't really care about that at all. I really care, can you find someone who could help you on a team, help you on a project, help you review something, help you, or if you're feeling charitable, who could you help? Who could you go? Could there be a quid pro quo on skills? Is this a way to have a marketplace for skills? I don't know. It's to too soon. We only started in April. We got 1,100 people in there. There's 100,000 businesses in the region. I need everybody's help to go tell everybody else that this exists. But think about, once we've got this, all these skills, how is that fundamentally going to help us shine a light on the 805? Because that's the other thing. It's not about attracting business here. Now, Ventura County wants to attract business on Western Ventura. Santa Barbara doesn't want to attract any. They're all full. But that doesn't mean we don't want business in the region. Customers coming to us. There's so many people I've met who have no customers in the 805. All of their business is outside the 805. And I said, huh. And they don't market here, they don't advertise here, they don't talk about it here. And I said, so you would rather get on a plane and go to St. Louis than meet someone who's maybe only an hour drive away? Huh, interesting. So that's how I'm thinking about things. Could we find at least 20% of your clients here, or attract more business from outside that they come here instead of you going there? This all makes sense? See why we're doing this? Yeah. So I want to show you the last part, which is, because I don't get to show this part that often, which is the whole back end. Because this is what's really interesting. When we look at what we can help with, look at this. This is really amazing. We start, now what we haven't, we're still figuring out. Now what do? What initiatives should 805 Connect be spearheading, knowing that there are 152 people that say they could help in B2B business? Now that's such a broad category, I should probably divide that up a little bit. But I can go to those 152 people and say, let's talk about that. Let's do an online discussion and say, well, what does that look like? So start them at, now I've got 135 of those discussions in my future. Right? Because I really want to understand, could that expert come and be a speaker here? Could that expert go and work, in the incubation, the acceleration? Can they be a mentor? There's a lot of things we're thinking about. What can we do now that we know who's doing what with whom? So I wanted you to see that, because that's kind of why we do all of this, is to be able to get the information, gather insight, and then have some initiatives that are going to make a measurable difference and increase the value and the economic vitality here in the region. That's our why for doing all of this. So with that, I'm going to give away a book. And Jim here co-authored with the author of this book, David Knorr, a book. What's the title of that?
Connectability.
Connectability. So this is pretty important. This book, written by a dear friend of ours, called Relationship Economics, is another one of those books that changed how I think about my relationships, business relationships, professional relationships. Fantastic book. If you don't win it tonight, you might think about buying the book. And I thought what I would do is I'd actually use the software to find a winner. Novel approach. And one of the things you can do, and just so you know, if those of you in 805 Connect know that you get a newsletter every Wednesday, and every couple of weeks I do a 2-minute tip, which is usually instigated by talking to someone and finding out, oh, I didn't know you could do that. So I make a little 2-minute tip. And one of those things is how to save a search. So I saved a search earlier called Huddle Prize, which is all the people that are new in the last 30 days. So that email came out about 10 days ago. So those of you who actually took action on there are entered to win. So there are the people. There are 52 of them. And this includes people who might not be here as well. So what I thought I'd do is just randomly select that one. Gerald. Ha! Perfect. So the winner last. Now let's see if we can embarrass Gerald.
And I did that an hour ago before I came.
So he says, let's talk about custom manufacturing, design, upper end hotel and residential. I'll give you 30 seconds to tell us what that means.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a serial entrepreneur. This is my third business in this space. We design and manufacture custom lighting or couture lighting for upper-end hotels, resorts, the famous people of the world, from whatever, Kardashians to sports players to whoever. And we employ people within the region to actually build stuff. We don't import, we don't export, we export, but we don't import. We really have people working here building product. Beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Well, congratulations. And that's it. Thank you very much, everybody.